What's up, weebs? Welcome back to Anime Lane, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. As always, I am your host, Notorious, and joining me once again today is Shaun.
Hi.
And we don't have Melina, but we'll have explained that.
She's still gone.
She's still gone. Who knows when she'll be back? We probably told you that last week. Anyway, this week we hear his voice in 009 Cyborg, still one I'm never 100% sure on how to pronounce. Written and directed by Kenji Kamiyama, music by Kenji Kawai, animation production by Production IG and Sans Again. It released in Japanese theatres October 27th, 2012. It is licensed in the UK by Anime Limited and in the US by Funimation. Available on home media from both. Streaming situation, no idea. Didn't really want to look. Based on the manga by Shotaro Ishinomori. Then we were we Velvevigs in My Dress Up Darling. Series direction by Kisuke Shinohara. Series composition by Yoriko Tomita, just because I've never mentioned this terminology before. Series composition is like the head writer of an anime TV series. It doesn't really exist within movies because you typically only have one screenwriter, or if there is multiple, they're all credited as screenplay or screenwriter or writer. Series composition is like the overall making sure that the series is coherent and the scripts line up and that sort of thing. So it's a different title from writer, but it doesn't refer to like music, just in case anyone got confused.
It's almost like showrunner, I want to say, but like not quite.
A little bit. I would say that falls more towards the series director, but I guess both would work in the same capacity in that sense.
Yeah. Just sort of like an overall like guiding hand, just on the writing thing. Because obviously, my first thing to think of is Doctor Who, and the showrunner of that usually has like a job of making sure the series is actually coherent and has like an overall flow to it. Whereas, they're also like general manager for the show, which I don't think this is. No, it's a little different. I'm not 100% sure the best way to explain it, but you know. Anyway, music by Takeshi Nakatsuka, animation production by Cloverworks. It aired from January 2nd, 2022 until March 27th, 2022 for 12 episodes. It is licensed outside of Japan by Crunchyroll and is available on home video and to stream on their platform. Based on the manga by Shinichi Fukuda, published in English by Square Enix Manga. We're covering episodes 1 through 6 today. Episode 1 was directed and written by Kisuke Shinohara. Episode 2 by Yoshihiro Hiramine. Episode 3 by Hideyuki Satake and Kisuke Shinohara. If it's double-barreled, it means that the director's first, writer is second. Episode 4 by Yuichiro Komura. Episode 5 by Takashi Sakuma and Yoshihiro Hiramine. And finally, episode 6 by Shinichiro Ushijima. So many Japanese names, so hard to pronounce. I think you got it mostly right, except for that one little slip up, but you corrected yourself, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, that's a lot to get through. It's been a while since I've done that, because it's been, like, what, a year and a half since we covered Oshinoko?
Yeah. Which, you know, we'll get to season 2 when we can.
We
will. I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, so I think we're starting with Cyborg.
To give away my feelings on the movie, I want it out the way just immediately.
Yeah, that's fair. Generally, I think if you've been listening to the show for a while, you'll know that if we talk about it first, we probably had strong feelings one way or another about it.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly how we do it, because we're like, we just want to get this done with, for better or for worse.
Yeah. It's so funny because you look at like just the names. So you got Kenji Kamiyama, Kenji Kawai, Production IG, all people involved with Ghost in the Shell. Kenji Kamiyama was the series director and head writer for Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. Kenji Kawai produced the music for the original movie, and Production IG obviously overseen production of both of them. And this is just not anywhere near the quality.
It's not good.
No.
It's not good.
But to be fair, the only other Kenji Kamiyama thing I've seen outside of Getsak in this way is his Halo Legends short, which we also did not like.
Oh my god, you're right. I knew I recognised that theme somewhere, and I didn't know where.
I seen it come up, and I was like, oh no. Oh no.
I remember you telling me as well that like around that time, or maybe somewhere around then that like you're like, so I've only seen this thing of him, but it seems like that's the only hit in his filmography.
That's sort of the general consensus I got, because I went into a server I'm in after watching it and went, I finally watched this after having it on my shelf for like 7 years, and boy, it was not good. And everyone kind of went, yeah. Kamiyama kind of only had like 2 hits, and I was like, oh wow, that's bad.
Yeah, what a way to... He burned out fast on the looks of it, because
Yeah.
what the fuck was that? What the fuck was this?
I genuinely don't know. Like, I couldn't even... If someone put a gun to my head, I don't think I could actually, like, explain the story of it.
This is like, what, an hour and 40 minutes?
Yeah, longer than it should be.
I took like 2.5 hours to watch this thing. One, because just maybe around halfway through I grabbed something to eat, but also because like I tried so hard to pay attention in some scenes, but I couldn't get into them because the pacing was so dreadful at some points.
It doesn't help that there is just so much like superfluous or nonsensical dialogue that you just either as like, we didn't need to have this conversation, or just straight up like, I don't actually know what the fuck you're talking about.
I mentioned to you like when we were first watching it, like it feels like they were trying to cram in as many philosophical themes as they could into one movie, when really you're supposed to you gotta pick one and stick to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's a mess.
Because like just 2 scenes that kind of come to mind to give an example of like, we didn't need to have this conversation and like I didn't understand what was happening. There's the scene where the B-2 bomber, the notoriously shit stealth craft that America keeps using, was like flying towards Dubai and was going to shoot a missile at it, and there's that conversation between Joe and Jet and like everyone involved at like HQ.
Yeah. Telepathically or whatever the fuck that works.
They were talking, and like everyone's motivations and everyone's characterization is so confusing that I had no idea what was going on, because it's like you have Joe, who's just recently regained his memories, talking about hearing the voice, and then you know you have the doctor flipping out. And then he starts, you know, saying he's going to help the pilot.
Yeah.
Because he's not sure if Jet is involved. And I'm like, but if you're not sure if Jet's involved, why are you helping them? That's counterintuitive.
Yeah, they try to explain it later. They're like, oh, it's this roundabout way where it's just, he's trying to help prove Jet's innocent because he believes it.
Bill!
It's like,
shit!
Yeah, that's the thing. That's like, no. You didn't need to do that. That's bullshit. That's not how that works.
And then the scene of like, we didn't need this, was the one in what I thought was a church, but is still somewhere within their HQ apparently.
It's church light.
It's church light, and you're talking
church coded.
You've got Heinrich, I think his name is, the German one.
I'm not remembering names other than Joe and Jet. I'm gonna be real.
He shows up after like, you know, the British guy and the black character disappear.
He is the German boy. I do remember that. Yeah,
and he starts explaining like the angels and his voice and stuff, and he just drops all this information that we don't really need to know. Like there's this whole point where they're like, where he outright says, oh, you know, the Führer won, wild to call him that.
Yeah, please don't call him that.
Caused the Holocaust because he had an angel in his possession. I'm like, we didn't. That's not really relevant.
That's a piece of world building you didn't need to put in, movie. No one asked for it. Why did you put it in?
I know you maybe wanted to add flavor, but we didn't need that kind of flavor.
It feels like it's that sort of idea of like sudden like shock value just for no reason. And the thing is, sometimes that can be effective in like very specific situations, but like this is also the laziest amount of shock factor of like, oh, the Holocaust mention.
Yeah. The Führer thing cracks me up so much because like it just makes me think of Persona 2, where in the original Japanese release you literally fight Hitler near the end, and there's like Nazi symbology everywhere, but like he's clearly the bad guy. It's not like, you know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. But it never, when it finally eventually got released in English, they were kind of concerned about that being present.
Yeah, you know.
And so they changed his name from Hitler to the Führer and put sunglasses on him as if that hid his identity at all.
It's not Hitler, it's Agent Führer, FBI.
It's like, what the fuck?
Why'd he even try, man?
Because you still got the swastikas and all the other symbology going on, so like, what the fuck?
Sunglasses, what? Is he Johnny Bravo now?
Yeah, so that was a mental image I didn't really need while watching the movie.
No, it's just a what the fuck moment for no reason.
Yeah, 100%. But that's sort of like, not necessarily what the fuck moments, but like moments just keep happening for no reason throughout the movie is, I think, the best way to kind of sum up like the chain of events, because it's not like a coherent flow of narrative that you get to experience. It's like very disjointed, almost like vignettes before it like kind of eventually comes together at even at the end. Like, it doesn't really come together, but I was like fully checked out at some point. I was
angry by the end. That sort of came across when I was talking to you about it. I was genuinely pissed off that the story was just this dumb, because the way I describe it is very much a script by plot points, and not by anything else. Like, oh, we want to have this scene, we want to have a scene where this happens, and now how are they going to connect?
It very much feels like the first draft.
Definitely.
It's so funny because like there's the part near the end where they're suddenly like suiting up, and I'm like, I wonder, for anyone familiar with Cyborg 009, if this was even a cool moment for them, like where they put on the iconic outfits, because it's also very passed over at the same time.
That sort of goes into a thing that a big point that I had like a trouble with. So this came out 2012.
Yes.
And when was the last adaptation of 009 before this, you said?
2001.
So that's 12 years.
Yes.
Between, and I feel like it's fair to assume that like there could be a good chance of new viewers coming into this and seeing what this is like, including me.
100%. Especially given the like live and death ratio for Japan when it comes to like the longevity of things, like compared to here in the West, especially the way we cling to like certain older media, it's not as much of a thing for Japan outside of like rare cases like Evangelion, even like Akira Kurosawa movies. But like even like in Japan, like Dragon Ball doesn't have like a Blu-ray release. It's not something that's constantly getting re-released, whereas like over here we're constantly, you know, every couple of years we got a new version of it coming out.
It won't leave us alone.
It won't leave us alone. And so I have to think like how in the zeitgeist, how in the mind of the average Japanese person who would be advertised to with this movie, how many of them were even aware by that point of what Cyborg 009 was? Because the manga's from the 60s. The height of the adaptions were all from the 70s to the 80s, and then there was the 2001 show. So like who the fuck was this for?
Yeah, because that opening with like specifically when he's getting his memories back and like the other two like go to meet him, it feels like it's fully expecting you to be like familiar with these characters and know who they are. But like for me as a newcomer who had no idea, I was like, who are these people?
Yep.
Can someone please explain what's going on? I had to sort of pick that up in like the scenes afterwards where they sort of explain that the whole memory wipe thing to like Joe. But even then it was like, I don't feel like it's for my benefit. I think it's just a rundown between whatever the previous thing was and now.
Yeah, plus they never really get into like the Jet and Joe dynamic, even though that's kind of sort of put forward as like a big thing for the movie too. I mean, at one point Jet should have been dead, but wasn't.
Yeah,
that happens twice. It happens twice. Because one time he gets shot and is bleeding out. And like, I get it, he's one of the 9 that we know of. I guess.
There could be more.
There could be more. Who knows?
We don't fucking know.
So like, sure, there's the less likelihood of him dying, but like, everyone's so split up that like, you don't know if someone is, you know, cannon fodder or not. Like, you don't know we don't know the dynamics.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 of the characters just fully fucking disappear for over half of the movie.
Yeah. They're just gone, but they don't give, even by the end, they don't fully give an explanation for that, because it's that stupid plot that I hate, where it has to be done well, like, or otherwise it's like it becomes a plot where that's just going, oh, you gotta think about it, oh, it's so mysterious, oh, we're so smart. Like, no, you're dumb. Stop pretending that this is smart. It's so dumb.
Yeah. It's hilarious how much like religious underpinning is actually giving it far too much credit.
That's a kind word.
Like, it wants to be pseudo philosophical, theological, but it doesn't really like give. It doesn't spend enough time on it, I think, because it pulls some of it so close to the end as to like, what is the voice? And it's the power of humanity. It's our deep-seated conscious of desire and self-conscience and insecurity, but also our limitless capability of pushing forward. And it's like,
or some shit.
What?
Like,
like, anime can do that and it can pull it off. And this has all of like the imagery and, you know, the composition to go along with it. You know, him literally hovering over the earth, the sun rising from the other side. It's like iconic iconography that we use in this sort of stuff, and that goes for the West too. We do this sort of thing all the time. But it's so just like, this is the done thing, we think it's gonna work, but there's no effort put into making it connect with the viewer, I don't think.
No, not at all. I had a few. I'm looking at how I like described it to you, just like when we were messaging, and like I basically described that like it's like someone looked at Eva's homework and copied it half-assedly, and then I followed it up that like basically the whole message with his voice was like, so it was like someone saying, so like, God's punishing us, but also wants us to stop ourselves by fighting each other, but also wants us to be reborn, but also like, hits blunt again, God is us, bro. Whoa.
I also think
like that,
saying it,
that's the movie.
Yeah, I also think saying it copied Ava's homework is like still giving it too much credit.
No, I think it tried, but it didn't understand what Ava was really doing.
It's so funny.
I'd usually say fair, but you know, it's at that point you try and look deeper into it and not just go off on your own sort of thing.
I think the thing that it may be deeply misunderstood about Ava is that like Ava's filled with that, you know, religious iconography and like underpinning and terminology and stuff, but it's never used in a purpose of like what this movie tries to do. I think it deeply misunderstands the perspective Ava's coming from, because Ava starts as like a typical mech show and then devolves into an introspective piece from Anno and into his own psychology. So you can't replicate what Ava does just by going for its aesthetic and themes. I guess. Themes is probably the best way to put it, but like at the same time, you know, Ava doesn't delve into them as the religious stuff as a theme.
Yeah.
Whereas this does.
It feels like Ava's whole like use of like the iconography was more as just a tool to tell its own story
Yes.
that it already had. Whereas this movie takes the iconography and is like, well, let's try and dive into what that actually means.
100%.
But it's not actually like confident enough to fully explain it, because I'm gonna be honest, it feels like they didn't really know what they were saying anyway.
I think this is like an American making a Bond movie, and for some reason it has a lot of Shinto values behind it. That sort of thing where like it's a religion that you haven't grown up with, you don't have the deep-seated societal ever presence of it, and then you try to work it into your piece, but you don't have that understanding to really make it fit and to work. That's why like an American making a Bond movie with Shinto values wouldn't work, unless it was a Japanese American. They would probably have that better capacity. It would still feel out of place. Whereas Anno pretty much has said in interviews, like, I just thought it looked cool. and that's it, you know?
And you know, that is pretty fair. It does look cool. And we do that shit all the time in reverse with like Japanese iconography and stuff.
100%.
It's like an old joke at this point.
Why are there cherry blossoms? They just look cool. Why the Torii Gate? It just looks cool.
It's just a cool thing to have.
Yep.
You think it's neat.
God.
So yeah, we're trying to dance around the plot because we don't really know what the plot was. 9/11 was mentioned, I remember that.
Yeah, 9/11 does get mentioned, and it's never brought up again.
Was there.
Obama was there. Obama was there.
I almost spat out my drink when Obama showed up.
Anime Obama was not on my bingo card for this season.
I'm sad that they actually don't commit to that as well, because it's only the back of his head. Like, it's very obviously Obama, given the time frame, and you know he's an African American president.
Yeah,
that feels bad to say, but
isn't there another? It's like an actual live action movie. I can't remember if it's from the West or if it's a Japanese one, but like you just see the back of someone's head and you're like, that's Obama, and then someone does like a really bad Obama like ADR impression. I'm not sure if it's a movie, but my first instinct is Doctor Who, because I'm a nerd. But like they spend like a good chunk of the Art Russell T series like is having like stand-in mentions of the president, sort of like maybe it's a fictional one. Then suddenly in Tennant's last story, you just get straight up calling Obama's going to fix the recession, and then you get a stand-in actor who's clearly got a different sort of head shape. But just the back of his head standing at the Oval Office, and then you've got actual voice recordings of Obama just inserted in. Oh my god!
Without seeing his face, it is perfect 2009 optimism. Is what I'm calling it kindly. Like things are going to be so good in the future. That was a tangent. I'm sorry, but you know, Anime Obama.
Yeah, like I said, not on my bingo card for this season. No. That's crazy.
That is wild.
That was his last term as well.
Yeah. Well, he was almost just about to be re-elected for a second term.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, I meant end of his first term. Yeah. He was he would have just about won. Yeah, it would have been like a few weeks before people went to the polls.
Damn.
Because it was October 27th, so like 2 weeks, maybe, most.
Good thing the animators guessed correctly.
That would have been wild.
Yeah, it would have been very out of date very quickly, other than just being out of date, like, I don't know, 5 years in.
Yeah.
From all the other
oh, God, it's such a bad movie.
Yeah, because we've talked about the religious stuff, but it also tries to have, I want to say commentary, but it's not even really commentary. It's just a part of the story.
Yeah.
Where they talk about like the military-industrial complex, which, again, this goes into my point. You got to pick one thing to like commentary over, otherwise it's just there for no reason.
It's another thing of like, you know, I mentioned the whole Bond example, but like, you can do like a commentary on like, oh, you know, religious theology influencing the military industrial complex in America, but I don't no
or
offense
if you want to be
to
spooky about it, you can add a World War II flavor and go occult Nazis.
exactly, but like this movie doesn't even attempt that. It's just like, oh yeah, everyone's a bit of a religious nut for no reason now.
And the military industrial complex sucks, am I right? So many lobby groups. Isn't that bad? Are you going to talk more about it? No.
No.
Just gonna mention a little bit. Do we want to dance around that they straight up say Israel? There's like a big backer behind it, which is like, ooh, that's weird to watch now in this day and age.
Yeah, only 12 years later, and it's like, oh, very.
And we say that knowing that whole conflict and the whole thing around, I don't know how to describe it, the whole thing around that area of the world has been going on for decades, but like, it's wild to watch this now, given where we are even 12 years later on that front.
Yeah, because like in the past just year and a bit, it's like just ramped up so much. And there's no like commentary on Israel whatsoever. It's just like stated matter of fact, like they're a big backer of this, and it's like, oh,
they're just name dropped.
Okay. I don't think Israel's in the position to back that, considering the US is usually the one backing them.
Yeah.
However,
I did have a concern that, like, depending on how far they went with that, I was like, is this going to have undertones that I'm not sure I quite like in this movie?
Yeah, I was worried that it would take a bit of a Zionist, you know, colouring.
Really verging on old anti-Semitic tropes.
Yes.
So I was very concerned for a second, but no, they don't put any commentary on it. It's literally they're literally just name dropped like twice.
Yeah.
And that's it.
There were some concerning moments for sure of like, are we gonna get anti-Semitism? Is this gonna take a Zionist flavoring? Where's it gonna go? Because it can go either direction at multiple points.
Yeah. Like, this feels like it's going from, is it trying to do a legitimate criticism, or is it falling into old tropes? I don't know if this is the movie that really has the strength to back any messaging up in that front, which is why I got so fucking concerned.
This thing has a
Along
sequel.
With, you know,
like that's insane to me. This thing got a sequel.
Yeah. You told me that there was a sequel trilogy after this.
Yeah, Call to Justice. 3 movies that I think was then aired on TV as 12 episodes. That's insane. I don't know why anyone would have watched this and gone, yeah,
we need more of that.
We need more of that. Again, because it's like, again, it comes down to the question of who the fuck was this for?
Yeah. You straight up told me that, and my immediate response was, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, thankfully, I don't think Call to Justice has ever been licensed for, like, English language, as far as I know, or as far as my research could lead me to, and that was going into certain sites as well.
Yeah.
And there are English translations there, but I couldn't find anything official, so that means we're not obligated to watch it, because I'd be pretty clear on, like, if something's licensed that I can get my hands on it, sure, we'll watch it, but like if it's not, we probably won't, barring certain circumstances.
Yeah, even if we could get our hands on it, I'd be pretty down saying I don't want to go back to this for a while.
Yeah, that would be fair. That would be very fair.
Because I was so legitimately angry at the end of this movie, because the movie ends, the climax of the movie is like Joe stopping a nuke.
Yeah.
Like, attacking the Earth again, because by the way, Dubai got nuked in like the middle of this movie.
Dubai got fucking incinerated, and
they
even
play it somewhat seriously in like the actual explosion, because you see people die and scream and stuff, but then immediately in the next scene, no one cares about the civilians.
Yeah, I find that so like jarring and funny at the same time, because you have Joe flashing his way away, you know, running like he's Barry fucking Allen,
like a Justice League cartoon moment.
And then you have people actually catching on fire, from the nuke as he passes them, and it's like, this is so bizarre. Like it's giving all this like actual real like weight behind the attack, but then doesn't follow up on any of it.
It's a character moment for Joe. That's it. That's all it serves.
And even then,
fucked
it's
up.
a shit one too.
Yeah. God, okay, hold on. I've just remembered. I can't remember if this was actually stated or not. Was it implied that the girl from his high school at the beginning of the movie was like an avatar for whatever his voice was or whatever?
That was certainly what I picked up when she suddenly appeared in the wastes of Dubai. But he then wakes up, so I don't know if he was just dreaming, or if we were meant to take that as like a real implication of she just didn't exist. Because I was trying to call back to the start of the movie if she like even interacts with anyone else.
I don't think she did.
So I don't know if we're meant to take that as meaning anything.
Yeah, again, it feels like it was trying to go, oh, you gotta think about it, it's your own interpretation, but it just comes off more as, we don't fucking know.
Yeah.
We're just throwing shit at the wall and we're gonna see what sticks.
Because, like, she just fully disappears from the movie once the tower gets, like, attacked and he rejoins the cyborgs. And then she's never brought up again until that scene. So, like...
what was she?
Yeah, was she an angel talking to him? Was she his manifestation of the voice? Was she a figment of his imagination? Like, what? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I don't think the writer knows.
No, probably not. I don't.
It's hard to talk about because the plot is so nonsensical.
Yeah.
And like at one point the Pentagon gets attacked, and I'm not even sure why that happens.
It's so funny because like it does the slow pull out, and I'm like, oh, you're just fully going for like actually recreating like the footage from the attacks. It's like, that's insane to do that, but okay, I guess.
Cool, but like, what was the purpose? It was like it was supposed to imply that Jet was like under the influence of whatever his voice was, but like that's only used in that scene because in the next scene afterwards he's helping Joe stop the nuke. So like, and we don't get enough time with him to see if he's like fighting back, or if maybe this is just a hallucination of the whole thing. Maybe the whole movie's a hallucination. Maybe the movie didn't happen.
Maybe they were all dead. You know, maybe the nuke actually hit. Maybe Joe didn't do it.
Maybe Joe just took some mushrooms before the movie started, and this is just one big acid trip.
Maybe this is the professor on his deathbed.
Yeah. Maybe. Just maybe, this is the worst fucking Mega Man universe I've ever seen. I don't know why my mind kept going to Mega Man, but like, just the way of like the cyborgs and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, the Doctor reminded me of like a shitty version of Dr. Light, and the end costumes, which I know are probably based on like the original manga design, but like I kept thinking they've dressed up as fucking Proto Man.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mega Man took some inspiration from the original.
I'm imagining, if anything, it's Mega Man that was taking stuff from this, but like, I couldn't help but keep thinking that stuff, and I was just like, I'd rather just play Mega Man X right now, or something, to get like a somewhat serious story that like deals with some themes like this, not like this deeply, but like, it's at least done well.
Yeah. Do we want to move on?
Yeah, I think I've said what I wanted to say. This wasn't a good movie.
No, it wasn't. So we'll score it. I'm still sitting at like a 4. I think for me, mainly like the general like competency of the animation is, you know, pretty good. I have some issues with certain character designs. And the music's really good. I just wish it was the soundtrack to literally anything else.
Oh, yeah. If I can say something like really good about this movie, there's this one track, I think, when Jet is in a jet, when he's like being chased by like, it's like that scene from like Iron Man 1 where he's being chased by like the other jets and stuff. There's a fucking kick-ass like music piece that goes along with that. It's like a techno sort of like rave theme, but I genuinely liked that theme. That was a good piece.
I liked most of the soundtrack because Kenji Kawai is like a really good composer. It's just it doesn't really gel with the actual film itself for the most part. There's a couple of scenes where it works okay, but overall, like, it's not a good movie.
Just adamantly shaking my head.
Yeah,
Not in this movie.
No.
And I agree that there is really good animation in this thing, just like completely removed from the story. The opening section with I forget her name. She's 003, I think. The comms girl.
Francois, I think her name is.
Yeah. Her and Joe fucking one scene, and it just never happens again. But when she's getting out of like the plane at the start and does that whole Ghost in the Shell-esque jump out.
They knew what they were doing with that scene.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. That was a good scene, even if it was alluding to something. I really liked like the whole animation process there. So that's what sort of bumps it still to like a 4 instead of like a 2 or a 3 to me.
Yeah, there are points where the animation looks like actually dreadful. Like I really don't want to get too much in it because I do want to move on, but like the scene where Dubai gets nuked is like crazy because the actual like wide shots look really good, but then like whenever you see Joe and other characters and like the characters catch on fire, it doesn't look like very good. It just doesn't look like it's part of the scene. It's very awkwardly done and doesn't like layer very well. But yeah, so it's a weird like thing where like generally it's very good, but there's moments where it's like, huh.
Thankfully, those moments I think are a bit few and far between. Yeah. So that's a good thing I can say about this movie.
So my dress up darling.
Finally, something quality. This series is adorable.
Yeah, I should probably preface that like this is probably going to show up again later because I fully have intentions for Melina to see this at some point too.
Okay. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to rewatching this at some point because I do want to listen to the dub. I watched it subbed for this one, but
same.
I do want to listen back to it dubbed just to hear the voice, mainly to hear the voice talent in there because Marin's voiced by Amelie, which is a content creator I love now because I'm a VTube shell. But, so I feel like this is a character she do really well at, so I'm very excited to like re-listen to that. But getting on this like first watch through, she's so nice.
Yes,
she's so nice, but she's also such a girl failure.
I love it because like both of them are just so incredibly dense.
Yes.
Like they both clearly like each other. And it's not really a spoiler to say this, but like Gojo does sort of kind of realize later on, but at the same time he's so dense that like he doesn't ever have that like moment of realization so far as I know.
Yeah, because like it very much feels like even from episode 1, or specifically the moment she finds out that like he's good at like creating like the Hina dolls and like the clothing and stuff, she's very much, there's an attraction there I feel like, but she doesn't even realize it until later.
Yeah.
And Gojo feels like an attraction like just right off the bat, but I think he's so stuck in that, well, she wouldn't ever want me, so I'll just be respectful and nice and just, you know, just to go off the assumption that she'll never like me, that he doesn't realize that it's a possibility, probably until way later.
I'm caught up with the manga, and I still don't think he's had, like, a moment of realization. I think mainly, like, the manga, I think the sort of love storyline is very much Marin's perspective. And like a lot of the creation process of cosplay and stuff is very much Gojo's perspective. So it's an interesting like dynamic that the manga eventually leads into.
And that's surprisingly unique in like manga and anime because usually it's from like the male perspective that this stuff usually comes from. So I said to you that I was very surprised that she's the one that's crushing on him. for a good chunk of this. I didn't expect that.
I'm trying to remember if Shinichi Fukuda is a woman. I believe the author of this is a woman.
Okay.
So I think that lends a little bit of more
sense.
texture and nuance where a guy would have, lacked.
That makes sense, because Marin is like written so well that there was a part of me that's like, this feels like at the very least there was like a female writer in the room.
Yeah. This is like
it would be too easy for a non-female viewpoint on this to not have Marin be as well done and as much a three-dimensional character as she is.
Yeah. She's so fun. Like, that's, I think, the best way to describe her is just she's very fun.
Yeah. She's very fun, very extroverted, but also very kind and sort of self-aware.
Yeah.
It's sadly, I feel like an anime character you don't see too much in like a genre like this, at least.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, even within just strictly romance, like, a lot of female characters come off as very kind of, at most, two-dimensional, and a lot of the time very one-note. They have one thing that defines their personality, and that is how the character is written the entire time.
They're either quiet nerd or they're a very pretty girl.
Yeah. Marin
is kind of both. She's just not quiet.
Yeah, she has moments of quiet, but not many.
No. She is loud girl failure. And I love her.
It's weird, it's been so long since we've talked about a TV series, I'm not entirely sure how to even
start.
Yeah.
Well, just to go from to sort of go through the plot as it were.
Yeah.
I like that it starts off immediately with Gojo's whole interest in Hina dolls. I wasn't sure if that was the thing that was going to be built up, because it was prior knowledge that I knew just from sort of hanging around anime spheres and stuff that he has this interest in Hina dolls because his granddad works with them in a shop and stuff, and he's called weird because of that interest and the whole basic plot based on that. But I wasn't sure if it was something that was going to be built up over time. But no, they just shoot immediately into that, so that you just hit the ground running on it.
Yeah, it's very much like the impetus for everything for even his character. It's very much like the driving factor around why he is the way he is. He's very introverted, doesn't have any friends when we meet him at the start of the series, and that's all to do with the fact of people thought it was weird that he was into Hina dolls when he was younger.
He tried to share it once and he was immediately shot down, and that's just sort of haunted him, which is sadly realistic, I think, for those kind of characters. I definitely say I had moments. I had a dynamic like that with some of my interests as a kid. Just sort of even just the kind of video games that I'd play, because this is gonna sound so Gen Z, but a lot of kids when they're in video games, even in primary school, they're a lot Call of Duty and stuff, and big action games and stuff, and there's surprisingly wasn't many kids in my classroom in primary whatever that was into The Legend of Zelda or any other Nintendo stuff that wasn't Mario.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to really share that stuff, because I'd be, even back then I knew that I'd be talking a info dumping nerd.
For me, that was always music growing up in school. I always had a different music taste from a lot of people in my class, because I'm into rock and metal and that kind of alternative music taste, whereas when I was growing up it was all the club music. It was David Guetta, was Katy Perry was just coming up, and it was the Disney musicals when I was in late primary, early high school. And don't get me wrong, High School Musical is great, but
I say that I said COD earlier, but it's not even that I dislike COD. I played the games and stuff and I still enjoyed them. It's just it was the other interests that only I liked that made it very hard to share without coming up. That's a bit weird.
Yeah. No, I relate with Gojo on some level of that.
Yeah.
And like even now, like being in the sort of like field that we're in, like people ask what I do or what we do and what the podcast is, and like there's, not to overblow it, but like it's its own ecosystem, it's got its own challenges, it's got its own quirks and things, and like if you start explaining that to someone, they just glaze over because it's like it's not their interest.
Yeah, like they're not gonna care, and I can't even fully blame them because most people don't, and that's fine. It's just, it sucks sometimes, you know, when it feels like you can't really share something you love so passionately, like, to anyone else.
Because it's like people at work ask me about the podcast sometimes, and it's like I just don't really want to ever explain it. Not on the fact that I'm embarrassed about it, because no, I love doing this, but in the sense of like, I can't really explain this show to people in a succinct fashion. I can't explain what we do, the process behind it, you know.
Like, my multiple members of my family know that, like, I do this podcast, and I've tried to tell them, like, what it's about, but I've had to, like, sort of explain it as, like, so we're sort of thinking about, like, Japanese animation and stuff, and, like, movies and stuff. That's sort of the focus we're on, because that's huge. And, like, some will even, like, recognize, especially, like, people like my sister or whatever, are going to recognize that that is a huge thing. But they don't know anime, and they're not into the anime thing at all, and they were never, like, around those circles, so it's, how do I explain that to like any of them? It
was actually more confusing when we had two shows on the go.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh well, we have two shows. One comes out one week, the other comes out another week. So there's generally an episode every week, but really it's like every other week. One where we talk about anything, the other one we talk about anime, and you just look at people and it's like the light has gone off in their head, you know, they're not listening. And fair enough, I get it.
Yeah, it's fair, but there's also a part of me that's like, oh,
no,
we
for
don't
sure
care anymore. But yeah, so that makes Gojo sort of very relatable, even if it's something I would never really have any interest in. Not gonna lie. I mean, I think they're neat.
Yeah, they're cool, but they're not my passion.
I relate to him, but I also sort of get it.
Yeah. We have a self-aware perspective on it.
Yeah. But then Marin comes in, and she is very unapologetic in what she loves, which I wish I could be like that, man.
Same.
I wish I could be her. In that sort of sense. Just like, not caring about what anyone says about that, just proudly wearing like either like fan stuff like memorabilia just on like her bag, or like maybe even just like a jacket or something. Just not caring what anyone says. That is, I would kill to have that confidence.
I say that, but like my bag has keychains and stuff, and I've got Gundam keychains, I've got a One Piece keychain, Bleach keychain. I also have a JoJo's hat, so I don't know why I'm like, I wish I could be like that. I have those things, and I wear them out and about, so.
But she's also like very like outwardly expressive, even just on like the cosplay scene and stuff, which is, because cosplay stuff I have an interest in, but I don't think I'm anywhere near having the guts to actually do it.
I'd need to lose weight if I wanted to do cosplay. Like, that's my thing. Like,
yeah. For me, it's a confidence thing, and there's also like the whole expenses part, because it's very expensive to get an accurate thing done.
Cosplay is a hobby in and of itself. Like, it's you kind of at some point in your life pick maybe like 3 hobbies, and those consume your adult expenses. You know, your free money, your liquid assets, as it were, I guess. Disposable income is actually what I've been trying to say.
But
I had to work my way.
I like describing it as liquid assets better.
And that's generally where where that goes. And
your passion.
Cosplay is like one of those very expensive ones, and it does not click in with any of my other hobbies, because I play video games. Those are fucking expensive. I watch anime and collect anime things, which is also expensive, and then I also run this fucking podcast, which eats money like nothing on earth.
Yeah. Even just this year, we had to replace the fucking
Oh,
mixer.
yep, yeah. I've also actually no. I'm gonna keep that a secret a little bit longer.
Yeah, don't think about it. Don't think about it. But yeah, so I like that they show just how much work goes into the cosplay thing to like get it back into the show. Just like, and they make it, and even these 6 episodes, they make sure to tell you it takes time.
Yeah.
Like even just 2 weeks is like a heavy deadline for Gojo, and he's like, I can't do this. I have so much other stuff I need to do. Just with the shop and like midterms and stuff, like it's not enough time. But that then gets sort of shut down when she says, "Oh, I didn't have, you didn't have to do that. I just wasn't gonna go."
This is after he's finished.
Yeah. Which is very real, by the way.
Oh,
when you
yeah.
get so tunnel vision into a thing, and like failure feels like you're going to die, and then like it's only right after that you realize, oh, it wasn't that big a deal.
Yep. Yep.
Very real.
I hate that was such a like our college like last couple of years where like there was a deadline and it would feel like we had to like obviously like hit that deadline. You have to hit deadlines, and especially in college. And then we'd work our asses off, submit it, and like most of the class just wouldn't have done it, and so the lecturer would just be like, it's fine, like hand it in another like 3 weeks, and we'd be sitting there like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that genuinely happened multiple times. To give some context, it was during the pandemic for a good chunk of that, but like there were times even post-pandemic where like that was happening. I was like, man, I put so much effort, and like there was a lot of stress that went into this, and most people didn't even fucking care.
Our final year was so much more flexible in deadlines than it ever fucking should have been. Like that was the critical year.
Yeah.
If you want to get your results from this, if you want your HND, you need to hit these deadlines. And like the lecturers were just constantly like, fucking don't care, man.
Yeah, just whatever. Just you go at your own pace, bro. Just go at your own pace. Like, on the one hand, yeah, that's cool. On the other hand, I put so much stress into this already. Are you kidding me?
And there's someone else in the class just fucking jacking off for the last 3 weeks who's now got another 3 weeks to do it. Fuck you. I want to say to our friends from that class who listen, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other people.
Yeah, we're not talking to anyone that's like in any way knows this show exists.
No, yeah, 100%. You guys were fine.
They were all fine.
Yeah.
That's why we invited you to like listen in.
One thing that maybe we'll see it a little bit in the second half of the show, but the manga's very like kind of educational when it comes to the cosplay stuff. It very much like, I don't personally read the intricacies of it a lot in it because I'm just, cosplay isn't my bag. No, sorry, I'm not going to quote Austin Powers.
My bag, baby. Just sort of slipped out.
Yeah. And like there's, you know, pages or panels where like they show the magazines, or they give an explanation of like, here's how you make this thing, here's how this process works, here's how you can do this. And that's really cool. I like that I can cut time in reading a volume by skimming that, because I'm like, okay, that's neat, but it doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
But it's
I'd probably be the one reading all that stuff, to be honest, just because it interests me.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised by like how much the manga like conveys as like a tool to help you with cosplay. The show kind of tries, but like I think it's a lot more centered on like the comedic value of certain elements, rather than being like an educational piece, which I think is fair. I think, you know, you need to make changes and sacrifices whenever you're adapting something, so to sacrifice the educational portion of it instead of having a more comedic sense, I think that's fine.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you're gonna cut anything, it's good to cut like the stuff that doesn't really serve the story as much, even if it's neat.
Yeah. But I think it's cool because it makes you feel like you're learning alongside Gojo, because he's very much new to this whole world as well.
it is still like somewhat educational. Like the whole journey of them like shopping for the parts and stuff, and like going to the wig store where like he suggests you should probably go to like a stylist to get this like a longer wig to get this actually cut to like a good length of the character. That was neat.
And then we see them like washing the wig afterwards. They also learn, you know, how to keep cool and, you know, by doing none of it.
Yeah, they learn it on the job, and while they're learning on the job, they also Aaron makes suggested noises, but she has to know what she's doing.
She's got to know what she's doing. But it's not until like
cast as a character from an eroge and everything. She has to know.
But it's not even until like after that she realizes she likes him. So it's not even like she's teasing him. She's just like,
no.
She's so dense.
I mean, she teases a little bit, like occasionally, especially like in the changing room part. There's a whole scene where she like flashes like him in like a little bit.
Yeah.
Can't think of a better way to describe it.
I mean, that's essentially what she has underwear on. We should add, but yeah.
I still can't decide if the whole of episode 2 is her just being dense as hell, or if she is trying to tease him like a little bit.
I think she's just that dense because she's so like caught up in the moment and so like focused on the cosplay aspect of it. I also think she's just very like self-confident and like friendship, I guess, that like she doesn't see the implication of it until he accidentally touches somewhere.
Or does he? I don't think he doesn't really touch. I think he's just sort of close.
I couldn't tell like it's strange because the framing, I was like, did he bump her there, or is it just the proximity? I couldn't quite figure out.
I thought it was just proximity, but maybe I just like, maybe it's supposed to be, who knows.
Yeah, it's who knows.
It's just I just remember thinking like, oh, this is the moment where she realizes that maybe this is a compromising like position to be in. Like, girl, you were posing on the futon in a bathing suit. What do you think was happening?
Whoever animated episode 2, a certain scene was very into feet, and I did not appreciate that.
I was expecting to cut to written and directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was almost expecting her to go like, you're not one of those guys that like beats, right? And Gojo's just like, oh god, no.
Yeah.
Because Gojo does not give a fuck.
No, Gojo does not care. It's not the feet part that bother him at all.
That's like the one part of that whole scene where he's like actually got it together and there's no struggle. That whole episode is a trip though, and it's I mean that in a good way because it's hilarious.
Yeah, is that the episode where she also gives him the actual eroges to play? I think she gives him before she leaves, and then because the grandpa's out, he's like shopping for a new sewing machine, and like he comes back at night and Gojo's playing the game and walks in on him. And the hilarious part about that is when this aired, on the broadcast version, you don't see what's on the screen. It's like whited out. And it's only on like the Blu-ray version that you see the scene, which is actually, it's worse, I think, implication on the broadcast, because you're like, what the fuck is he saying? And then you see it and it's like not as bad as you think, you know? Yeah,
like she's still covered, like you don't actually see any of like the explicit bit. She's just sort of like in a skimpy sort of like rope sort of thing.
She's in I can't remember what it's called. It's a Japanese rope tying thing. I can't remember what it's called.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yes, Japanese rope binding
thing.
Shibari, that's what it's called.
Okay.
So she's like in like shibari, so she's got like ropes all over her and stuff, and like everything's hidden, and it's like, you know, given that hentai exists, my mind went very many different directions.
Yeah, if it was like that, I'd be like, oh, that is fucked up shit right there.
Yeah.
I love how they dealt with the whole, like, man, just plays those kind of games. Because Gojo does the whole, wait, do girls even do that? And Marin's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no shit. Based,
yeah. She knows what she likes, and she's very confident in
again, unapologetic.
Yes. Girl
but
boss, but also girl failure.
Yeah, girl boss moment. Marine moment.
Yes.
I do love that moment where, like, we sort of do see a little bit of vulnerability from her side. Where, like, even though she is very confident in what she likes, she straight up does admit, like, after the shopping scene where, like, Gojo talks about all the details that he got from just the game, because he actually did the research.
Yeah.
He actually did it for the research. Like, she's like, huh, I didn't actually expect you to play that, to be honest. No one ever really plays what I recommend.
I mean, to be fair, if she recommended me an eroge, I'd probably be like,
yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Like, that was like my second thought after the first thought was, girl, you gave him hentai. Were you really expecting?
Yeah.
Like, are you really that shocked that people don't really play what you recommend if you're recommending that?
God. And then they walk past, like, a line of fully grown adult people that freak out because they overhear the conversation and they're like, what the fuck?
That is weirdly one of the most realist parts of the whole series.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, teenagers are scary and they just talk about that stuff sometimes, like, out in the open. And sometimes you overhear it and you don't want to overhear it.
Yep.
Just trying to get McDonald's, man. Yeah. The whole cosplay, like, con sort of event scene was really nice as well. Even, like, just with the overheating part, but just seeing, like, the whole, like, scene where, like, she's just like, oh, everyone here is just so nice and just genuinely cares about what they're doing. It's like, it almost makes me want to go to a con, even though I'd be scared shitless from social anxiety.
Yeah. I think it gets explained later, but, like, it's also explained that, like, even though she had a good time and, like, she didn't necessarily do anything wrong, there was a lot more rules that she could have, or, like, a lot more, like, unspoken, like, agreements that she could have done that, like, would have made her have an easier time. Like,
yeah.
I don't think this is in season 1. I think this may have come up in the manga a bit later, but, like lines for, like, photographers and stuff, like, you can have someone who breaks the line so that it's like, oh, once these people are done, like, the person's leaving or taking a break or whatever, so this is the end of the line and, you know, no one else can join, or, like, just people maintaining that, and like, someone giving water, or, like, how to deal with photographers and stuff like that. So again, it goes into that whole educational aspect of it and how they're very much learning as they go along, and they fuck up and learn.
Because that's how you learn.
They fuck around and find out.
Yeah. I mean, they did with the whole heat stroke scare.
Yes, yeah, they did.
This was just a really good batch of episodes.
Yeah.
And it was nice to sort of see that whole first arc, I guess you want to call it, with the event and stuff. It was a really good introduction to the characters, and I'm very much excited to watch some more. There's a non-zero chance I'm going to watch maybe episode 7, like, after this recording.
Nice. Because episode 6 does introduce like, one more new character. So we got the introduction of Juju, who is another fellow cosplayer who looks young, and is fucking hell. It's because her cosplay name is Marine, but then there's Marine, the fucking VTuber. Anyway, Marin.
Yeah, which gets stuck in our head because we're that kind of people.
Yeah. Marin is a very big fan of, so, like, that's going to be an interesting storyline. But we only really get a hint of, like, them. We get them meeting, and, you know, Juju making some very wild assumptions of Marin from, like, not knowing her whatsoever.
Which, like, I mean, that's realistic. You get those kind of people that'll just judge you based on, like, vibes and nothing
true,
else.
yeah. I feel like...
So, like, that was realistic, but, like, we sort of did talk about how, like, just from the character she was cosplaying as, you'd think that she'd figure, oh, she's got to have some baseline knowledge of what she's doing here.
Because, for lack of a better way of putting it, like, Juju just sort of thinks for some reason Marin is, like, a tourist and doesn't know anything. She just cosplays a character based on the vibes, which, like, in some capacity, fair enough. If you just like that character design or the way they look, then like sure, cosplay them. You don't need to be in depth in the series to have the validation to cosplay someone. But like even then, like that character specifically, it's like I don't think anyone's just accidentally finding them and being like, oh yeah, I'll cosplay them. That takes some consideration and concerted effort to know that character.
Yeah, you gotta know, right?
Yeah.
I also gotta say, fucking wild that the grandpa just lets Juju and just assuming she's a friend of Gojo.
Gojo's never had a friend round until Marin, and then he just sees this young child standing out in the rain and goes, oh, that must be a friend of Gojo's.
Use the shower. What? And then Gojo, honestly, kind of fairly thinks, "Is this some sort of new scam?" Or
yeah, no, that's a fair thought.
I wouldn't charge into the bathroom though. I feel like that was all him, and I don't think that's what you want to do. But,
yeah, no, yeah,
because that's just begging for a scene that actually just happens in the show.
Yeah.
Which he then uses to blackmail him, the little shit.
Let's not forget she fully stalked him too.
Yeah, she should be in jail.
I can't wait for you to meet her sister, because she has a sister.
Oh, she has a sister.
Yeah, that's going to be fun when you meet her.
Older sister or younger sister?
You'll find out. I'm not gonna spoil it.
I know Juju's in the
opening.
The opening. Is the sister who she's with in the opening?
I believe so. No, that's the sister, yeah.
Okay, holy shit then. That's an older sister.
You'll find out.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah.
That's gonna be fun, yeah.
Yeah. Where are we at? Because we've been talking for a while. Oh, wow, that's just sort of blown by. Damn.
Oh, wow.
It's an hour and 10 on the recording.
God damn, I wasn't sure if we were talking enough.
Same.
I'll be honest for a second there.
I was thinking the same.
I was like, it feels like we're skimming on the details, even though we've gotten through what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's always an interesting thing about a TV series where, like, we talked about Evangelion, we've talked about Oshinoko, where it's like I think we just generally don't need to go in like each episode individually. I think it's just like whatever, you know.
There's a reason we do these in blocks.
Yes, I would hate covering a show like episode by episode. Like that would not work for 90%.
We'd be stretching
out
content.
But yeah, I remember watching this as it like aired, and I fell in love with the show immediately, and I've been keeping up with the manga ever since. It's genuinely up there as one of my favorite mangas. I would say anime, but only because like it's still only on season 1. So we'll see where like it goes from there, because if it's handed off to another studio, I hope they don't fuck it up, but it'll probably be Cloverworks, so it'll be fine. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the manga. I just wish Square Enix would fucking... I mean, I can't blame them too much because we're only like 1 volume behind the Japanese version now, but like I want to be more up to date with it. I want more.
And I know I should.
It's like every volume I'm like, oh, this is nice, but god damn it, can they just fucking get together already?
For the love of God, I feel like this one comic I saw where it's just like CC and like GG just like talking, and then like Kiara just comes in and it's just like, get married already. He gives them like tickets to Vegas. I feel like that, even like 6 episodes in, like, will you two just get already?
Anyway,
So I'm looking forward to more.
yes, and viewers who are listening to this, you can look forward to hearing the rest of it in 2 weeks' time with the next episode, because we're not, spreading this out too much. We're gonna cover it still within December. I also think it's worth I'll probably reiterate this just throughout the whole of December, but like January, the first episode of 2025 would be on the 3rd. But given that it's the 3rd, there's not going to be like a new episode, both audio and video, YouTube. Excuse me, Jesus.
You alright?
Yeah, I just burped. Audio and YouTube viewers will get an EX episode on the 3rd. I'm not sure which one. I've got 2 options, and I'm not sure which one to go with. It's either going to be Lupin or Rintaro, I believe. I think. So it'll be one of them. And I'll reiterate this. Yes, I'll reiterate this across most of the episodes, just so people are aware. The show's not, on a break or anything like that. It's just going to be an AX episode. I want everyone to have a nice new year and a relaxed time. So, yeah. Thanks for listening to this. I guess we're just gonna we'll wrap up here. There's not much else to really say.
Exactly.
So.
We got our announcement out, so good.
Yes. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.